Mikhail was born on the 31st of October in 2014, and he was born a very healthy, happy boy. And at 4 weeks and 1 day exactly, he got a very high fever, which obviously startles a mom because your baby is not supposed to have a fever. Rushed him to the hospital and he got hospitalized. They took some time to figure out what was wrong with him, but after doing some blood tests and urine tests, established that he had a very bad urinary tract infection. We got the fright of our life because our baby's infection count was so high that usually babies that's got an infection count with septicemia that's that high have a 50% chance of either making it or not. What made our situation a little worse was the fact that the kind of bacteria that he got infected with was actually very resistant to antibiotics. So they struggled to get him on antibiotics that actually started bringing the infection count down. They changed it about 3 times. On the 3rd day, we got hospitalized on the Monday, and on the Wednesday, the doctors really had their hands in the hair because nothing was working. Mikhail wasn't responding, and at that stage, he was going into, I won't say a semi-coma, but he was very sleepy all of the time. He wasn't drinking at all anymore. He wasn't responding, and he wasn't crying. And if you have a newborn, you always wish that your baby would cry less until they do. And when they do, as a mom, you realize that something is really wrong. And that was the day when I think we all, myself, Jacques, our family, had a mini breakdown, I would say. Because the doctors were doing everything they can and the infection was just not coming down.
I mean, being a dad, you kind of try and assure your wife that everything's going to be all right, and you just go through the motions. And unfortunately, he wasn't all right.
And on that Wednesday, Jacques came to visit us in hospital, of course, and his mom actually phoned him and said she feels in her heart that God told him to lay his hands on Mikhail.
My whole reality was shaken up in a single moment where we realized that if something drastic doesn't happen now, we stand a real chance of losing our boy. And so my entire universe came to a standstill in one moment. And so for me, that feeling of hopelessness and just being totally out of control, I mean, that sums it up perfectly. It's just one moment where I knew I could do nothing in my own power to fix this.
And Jacques stood up and he said, "This is what my mom says we should do. If medicine can't take it further, then let's give God a go."
Effectively, I'm in this particular situation, I'm useless. There's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. And I really didn't have a choice but to try something different. And that's what we did. We reached out to God.
And so we all took hands and he started praying for Mikhail. And he touched his head and he prayed and he took oil and he anointed his head. And as he moved his hand down to his little tummy, all of a sudden it looked like someone took a match and burnt my boy, because all of a sudden he just started screaming. And he was a yellowish color, which is obviously some of the side effects from being so ill. And as he started screaming, his whole body from the bottom up started becoming that pink that they are when they're born. So all of a sudden you could just see all the blood flow coming back into his body, and in that moment we all knew that Mikhail was touched by God. And he just went from strength to strength up until we got released out of the hospital on the 7th day. When Mikhail turned a year, his his urologist decided that he needs to go in. He's old enough and strong enough for anesthesia. Because he was kept on medicine throughout the whole year just to try and avoid any infections. And when he reached a year, he decided that he's going to go in and correct his urinary tract so that the reflux will not be an issue anymore. When he went in, and he's one of the most well-known urologists in the country. He's a robotic surgeon, so he went in with all these fancy machines, and wonder above wonder, couldn't find the little hole where the reflux was supposed to come out. He operated for about an hour, and after an hour we were starting to get really nervous because the doctor wasn't coming out, and eventually he came out and he said, I can't find the reflux, and this is the first time in 33 years of operating that this has ever happened to me. I'm very frustrated. He said he used every single robot he had. He couldn't find the reflux, and his words were, it seems like God healed your boy.